Hello everyone, welcome to another new week. I hope you're good. We're going to talk about Bitcoin Cash. When should you invest and should you invest? So welcome everyone, I hope you're good. I've never spoken about Bitcoin Cash before, but please, if you are new to the channel, subscribe, hit the bell button, like, comment, all kinds of good stuff. If you want me to do another coin, let me know in the comments. This was a requested comment, thought I'd do it. But also, another request is, where can you trade these assets? Because a few of them I've done, I don't really have anything for you guys to go and trade them on. I personally don't like Binance, so I don't really recommend it. I don't use it in terms of leverage and margin trading. I only use it for spot trading. So I have got here SnapX. Check it out. It's really, really good. You have different pairs. It's a really, really clean interface. It also has a demo mode. If you just press demo here, it goes to the demo mode and you get a load of money. It's really, really easy to use. I like it a lot in terms of use case. It's very, very quick and easy to do orders. You've also got TradingView here so you can do your full analysis, and there's obviously other pairs. So check out the link below. There we go. Bob's your uncle. You can now trade it. So let's look at the analysis side of it. So we all know, historically speaking, Bitcoin Cash has been a very, very expensive asset. Now, this is a great trading opportunity. Personally, I wouldn't say an investment opportunity. I would say mainly like it's a risky one in my view. I think that it needs a bit of traction, needs a bit of control in kind of element of, is this any good, in personal opinion. A lot of people believe in it, a lot of people don't. Regardless, I personally don't. But people do and they want to invest in it. But if you've also got some free Bitcoin Cash from previous forks, crack on, keep hold of it if you so wish to, if you think it's undervalued. So let's look at a few little levels, right? So first things first, let me remove the Hitman for now. I'll put that on in a bit. But when you start looking at key levels, in my view, I think it's undervalued as an asset. I think overall as an altcoin, essentially, I don't want to get too caught up in the whole, is it the real Bitcoin? It's not. Let's remove that element of argument. So in terms of key levels, we've got a one right here, right? Simples. But I don't want to go too deep in the levels. I just want to, I want to put just a few on here just to give it a little bit of structure, right? But I want to talk about a few things about Bitcoin Cash that you may not be aware of. Now, one, it is a bit faster than Bitcoin. Two, it's also interesting compared to how it kind of, its inception came about and stuff like that. But I want to give you this little bit of a rundown. I think overall, if Bitcoin goes parabolic, this will probably follow it, in my view. And when you start seeing sort of investment opportunities, people like to go for the copycat, the likable ones. So in technology, when certain graphics cards, for example, are pumping, the competitors will also pump because people will jump onto that one. It's the same in cryptocurrency. When Ethereum was going crazy, so was the Ethereum-like coins that were like Ethereum in terms of the dApps. Same with the likes of Bitcoin. Bitcoin was also pumping, but so were the currency pairs such as Verge did really, really well. Viacoin did really, really well. Coin did really, really well. They're all like forks and around of Bitcoin. So people look at alternatives. So Bitcoin Cash, if Bitcoin does well post-halving, a few months later, and we start to see some nice momentum in a bullish cycle, don't expect a crappy Bitcoin Cash. Expect a one that's going to be following it quite closely, and it'll be probably quite mirrored to that. And what I want to kind of show you, I want to put a compare chart on this in a minute, but first we need to do the basics. So let's look at this. This is the range that we're in. I think we are undervalued. I think this could go up a lot of money. I think we could see a Bitcoin Cash back in the four figures at some point in the future, but it all depends when. And personally, I think there is other opportunities to buy this lower. I think if we are going to go bearish again, we're going to probably start seeing again 150 levels, which is really low in my view. But again, I'm not a financial advisor, just whatever I say, take it with a huge pinch of salt. So when you start looking at levels and structure and stuff like that, it's kind of consolidated in some key areas, like $200 psychological level is probably one of the main ones. When you start looking at this level here, $200 right in the nose, you're thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. And you got to look at certain levels like that. And then you got to start thinking, well, can it go there again? Probably. So $200 is probably one of the greatest places that you can be right now if you are looking at Bitcoin Cash. Obviously, we've been lower, but in terms of all this, in terms of like the manufacturing of the huge levels of support there and a little bit of resistance as well, pretty cool. Now again, it may never ever get there. most likely will, but just in case you missed the boat, you got to look for a key level again, and you got to look at certain levels like up here. If this holds its support and it carries on going up, there's probably a decent little trade opportunity there as well. So there's some levels there in terms of the dailies, and I want to put one more up here because it's kind of obvious. This little turning point here, which again is probably a 350 level, which is pretty cool. Now I don't want to be too picky, but I like my lines nice and straight if I can. Just because, why not? And I know it likes annoying people. So that's that. Simple. But when you start looking at the longer time frames and zoom out, and you're looking at where we have actually been, this level here, this like 485, 500 level is freaking awesome, right? So it's obviously been held there twice, but we're going to look down from here and see where we are in terms of the retracement. Now, it's important to note that we have not pulled up enough, in my view. I think this could go up, but I also think ultimately you've got to get a good buy point. But personally, my thoughts are this is an undervalued asset even right now when I'm doing this video, because when you look at Bitcoin, when you look at Ethereum, XRP, they're all very close to key levels. Even the stock market is close to key levels on a relief rally. So you could probably argue maybe invest in, like, obviously depends on the termination of, bear with me. Not bad. So when you're thinking about the elements that Bitcoin, is it bullish, is it bearish, is it going to turn around at the 618? This will impact this, which is kind of the worrying part about this in terms of, well, do you invest or not? So when you start looking at the facts here, even from this point here, and we go up to that level there, the 382, cool. But when you start looking and going to the 618, it's a 50% move, which is possible, and it is in confluence with that daily level. But just be mindful, Bitcoin, in my view, is probably running out of legs, running out of room, running out of wiggle room, because it's getting towards these points. With Bitcoin, the structure is exactly the same as in dump, retest, but the retest is totally different. The retest, Bitcoin is up here, about to turn around, potentially about to turn around. It could blast through, then Bitcoin Cash will go with it. But the odds are stacked against you essentially after a 100% move. So when you start looking at Bitcoin, and let me just put Bitcoin on here, BTC, USD, I want the Coinbase chart, please. Where there it is. Boom. So that gives you an insight there of where Bitcoin is in relation. So currently, right now, it's not mirroring it as key. Once that van buggers off, go away. Why? Just why? Anyways, so it does mirror it in some ways, but not as much. There's some times where you'll get Bitcoin Cash will be with it perfectly like this. Went up higher, obviously, because it's an altcoin, higher percentages. Boom, drop, back up, but it's kind of slowed down a bit. So be mindful of that. Now, again, oh dear, I always do that. That does my head in. TradingView, you need to change that. So when you start looking and zooming out and looking at other levels of structure, you're obviously going to get, let me just try and refresh that. There we go. So Bitcoin has always, most of the time, been more dominant than Bitcoin Cash. Apart from this peak here, obviously these lows, it goes lower. It's because it is an altcoin. I want to make that very clear. Altcoins move more. This is an altcoin. I don't care what anyone says. It is an altcoin. And ultimately, if Bitcoin pumps 10%, the chances are this might pump more. It could also pump less if it isn't going in the wrong direction due to Bitcoin dominance, and that's a whole new ballgame. So, is Bitcoin Cash a valued asset right now? I think yes. I think it's undervalued because it hasn't moved as much. But if I was to be a safe betting person, in my view, I would wait to see what happens with Bitcoin first. If Bitcoin turns around at the key levels that it's at, and I want to show you the chart now just to kind of give you an insight. Let me remove this, just so it doesn't confuse you. If you look at Bitcoin, it is very, very close to 618. Very, very close. If Bitcoin turns around, you can bet your bottom dollar that Bitcoin Cash will go down with it, along with the rest of the market, right? Obviously, right now, it's hard to say. I don't want to be that YouTuber going, it could go either way, but I would be very, very patient and wait and see what happens, because a $200 Bitcoin Cash or $150 Bitcoin Cash could be a great investment opportunity towards a bullish cycle post-halving of obviously Bitcoin Cash, which has halved recently, and Bitcoin, which you're going to have in about 20 days, give or take, maybe less than that, whatever the date is right now. So be mindful. So there you go. Today's video is done and dusted. I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit different. Obviously, check out the link to SnapX below. It's a really, really decent little exchange, and it has a good bit of variety. It's very, very clean and simple. It's really easy to use, where it doesn't have any complicated stuff. So yeah, wait out and see what happens with this one.